President Donald Trump, since he said that the vaccine can be found by the end of this year. In order to discuss this topic, live from Paris, Professor of International Relations at the Sorbonne University, Dr. Fadi Shaheen; from Rome, the President of the Euro-Mediterranean Medical Association, Dr. Fouad Oude; and from Delaware, Mr. Rob Arlett, who is the Trump campaigning advisor. Welcome to all three of my guests. Dr. Fadi from Paris, I will start with you. This is a very important point. More than $8 billion were donated in order to develop vaccines and treatments for COVID-19. In your opinion, how much will this show a true joint effort made by the world? And a lot of people are saying that these efforts are necessary at this particular stage. Thank you so much for inviting me, and welcome to you all. There is no doubt that there is a fear around the world from this virus, and this meeting was held despite of a lot of media residents in the US about the possibility of finding a vaccine. More than once, Mr. Trump said that the US is very close to finding a vaccine to this virus. This meeting and this summit that was held, as well as all the pledges that were made that reached more than $8 billion, indicate a very fair point, which is, so far, no country has been able to develop an effective vaccine, despite what the US is trying to say. And we shouldn't forget that the US did not partake in this meeting. And this is maybe because it has invested previously more than $6 billion in order to find a vaccine to this pandemic. The meeting held today virtually from Brussels by video conference was to show the international cooperation against the virus. This indicates a very important point. So far, we do not have efficient tools, despite all the rumors about that. And regardless of all the steps that have been said to be taken. So, therefore, these donations were made in order to confirm the falsity of these rumors. Dr. Fouad from Rome, welcome to this interview. Let me ask you about the efforts. Maybe you have a different idea when it comes to the efforts made in Italy in order to find a vaccine. But let us listen to what the German Minister of Health said, which is, I will be happy if we manage to develop a vaccine in a few months. However, I do believe that we need to remain realistic. This might also take years. So you are saying that within the group you are close to developing a vaccine, and you might be able to reach a solution by September, which is 4 or 5 months from now. On what did you base that? Good evening and good morning to everyone. This is a very important question related to the vaccine. However, I wanted to clarify a very important point, which is the difference between medicine or drugs and vaccine. We are working with the White Army in order to have record numbers with all the people that have recovered, and in order to work with the hospitals. We have conducted research in more than 72 countries as Euro-Mediterranean Medical Association. As doctors, we have to try all the drugs. This drug or this medicine is not a vaccine. We need to use it. Yes, but Dr. Fouad, we know the difference between a drug and a vaccine. Now we are talking about a vaccine because everyone is doing all their efforts and working on knowing that the main thing that might hamper a second wave or any other pandemic is to find a vaccine. So when we are talking about September, do you believe that this is a logical date? So finding a vaccine within 4 months? Yes. When it comes to vaccine, in Italy, there's a company that worked with the Oxford University in order to develop a vaccine, and I requested to work with them in order to be able to find this vaccine. Today I listened to several countries, and we find that there are different battles within these countries, in addition to the battle against the COVID-19. Any state in the world, any country that should find a vaccine as soon as possible, because it will help us in fighting COVID-19, and we welcome that. This is why I asked this Italian company to work as soon as possible and as fast as possible in order to start manufacturing the vaccine by September. Germany exaggerates when it says that the vaccine will be developed in a year or two. Each vaccine, without any crisis, needs to be developed between a year and a year and a half, because we need 10 to 12 committees that need to agree on it. However, in light of the crisis, we need to work faster in order to respect all the guidelines given to us and to agree on the vaccines. And mainly when we have diseases transmitted from animal to humans, and notably since we have a lot of people already infected, so we can start the clinical trials, and maybe in September we can find a solution. Dr. Auda, I will ask you later on about the antibodies and the plasma, because you have already called upon that, and maybe we will talk later on about what is happening. Mr. Rob Arlett from Delaware. Why was the US absent from very important meeting? More than 40 countries participated, as well as other funding parties. As an American source gave a reason for that and said many of organizations and programs that the summit was trying to support is already having a lot of funding from the US government and the American private sector. He also said that Washington is on the front line of these international efforts. So if the US is really at the front lines, why did it not participate in these very important summits, and that the world is really in need in order to unify all the efforts in order to find a vaccine for this COVID-19?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And President Trump is very focused on finding solutions and finding a vaccine. He does not need this organization from the WHO, or for that matter, the UN, to funnel taxpayer dollars to the United States for their approval on how to disseminate those dollars. I think that President and the American people can make decisions what's in the best interest of them. And I can tell you that President Trump is seeking from the world partners accountability and transparency. And personally, why should China not pay the entire bill? We all know now that it came and created from China, and they also were involved with the cover-up of this COVID-19. So as far as President Trump is concerned, why shouldn't China pay the entire $8 billion that is being sought out by this fund? That would be a question I would like to ask my panelist.
We will be asking this question to the other panelists, but you are saying that the U.S. president does not need those international organizations, but do you not believe that the magnitude of this virus requires the coordination of everyone, and majorly the superpowers?
No, I think it does. But I think, again, he can work directly with the other superpowers from around the world that does not need to go through this organization. Because I think in the end, it's all about trust and transparency. And President Trump, and for that matter, the American people, do not trust WHO and do not trust the UN with reference to this matter, because they've not proven themselves to be very transparent. And in the end, their decisions very early on cost lives from around the world. So again, President Trump is seeking transparency and accountability, and he can work directly with other countries as he has in the past, and he will continue to do so. And again, President Trump calls on all world leaders, both politically as well as in the medical field, to hold the WHO and China accountable. Again, and we need to work together as a world and as humanity to hold them accountable for their actions. an inability to be transparent and to be very honest with all of humanity. And I think that's what President Trump is ultimately seeking. And he does not need to go through this organization to funnel dollars to make sure that we can ultimately get a vaccine that can be very helpful and ultimately save lives. And that's, I believe, what President Trump is seeking.
The summit that we are talking about was not held by the WHO.
I understand.
It was the EU that hosted that, and more than 40 countries
yes.
and funding parties have participated to that. Dr. Fadi from Paris, what do you think about what Mr. Arlett said? He said that Mr. Trump and the US does not need the WHO because the US is trying to develop vaccines by itself, and this was already stated by Mr. Trump. Mr. Arlett also said that the WHO and China should be held responsible for the spread of the virus. What do you think about that, Dr. Fadi from Paris? Excuse me, Dr. Fuad, I am talking with Dr. Fadi. I think that these are keywords. Since this crisis started, there were key words that were used, which is mismanagement. All parties use that, and I will go back later on to the US, but we shouldn't forget what happened in Europe. Everyone was saying that they were not responsible for that. Italy held the EU responsible. Spain also had a lot of responsibility on Turkey that was withholding a lot of medical equipment. So we know that everyone had their own narratives in order to dispel their own responsibility. And if we move to what is happening to the US, we know that Mr. Trump had committed a lot of mistakes, starting by what he's done in the media, saying that the US has a priority in having medical appliances and tools. That was quite selfish in these statements. He also said that this virus is a Chinese virus. This was also racist. So despite all the mistakes made by China, the US and Mr. Trump should not have repeated the same mistakes or trying as much as possible to highlight that in order to defer the position of that. But Mr. Trump considered that he has really managed this crisis, and this is what Jared Kushner also said. But Mr. Muhannad, this is not the truth. So, as like said, he wants to divert attention from his management because we know that Mr. Trump has an electoral problem and the presidential elections are to be held in November, and there are a lot of doubts about his re-election. But on the basis of what are you saying that? I need to focus on a point, Mr. Muhannad, that stopping contribution to the WHO and accusing China is just in order to have some media propaganda, just like he's done in the past. It is really important to hear a reply from Mr. Arlett. In your opinion, I see you smiling, and Dr. Fadi is saying that Mr. Trump has mismanaged this crisis, and he's trying to divert the attention from him and holding other parties responsible. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a nice talking point from the Democrat Party and the world globalists, but that's just not the facts and that's just not the reality. President Trump has called this a Chinese virus because it was created in China. It's very simple. It's not racist. It's factual. And so let's not get political. Let's stick focused on the medicalness of this, if you would. And I think that the reality is President Trump is not concerned about re-election. I think he's focused on exposing those that have been involved with corruption and cover-up, to include the WHO and China. And for anybody to think otherwise is just wrong and not factual. And I think, again, let's focus on the facts. What we do know is that this started in China. That's a fact. We also know that China have not been transparent in their numbers of cases and also in their numbers of deaths. That is a fact. It is also a fact that when they had shut down transportation, flights from within their own country, they were permitting flights to leave their country to go around the world, to include the UK and also the EU, I should say. And so again, those are facts, and we cannot dismiss. So again, why was China shutting down their transportation and their flight travel from within their own country, yet permitting travel to leave elsewhere? Again, it's all about trust. It's all about transparency.
Mr. Arlett, I think this was very clear, and
Yes.
I think that the main responsibility is because of China, because it withheld information.
Yes.
It did not take stricter measures when it comes to the spread of
Yes.
COVID-19, and he also held China responsible because it couldn't stop reaching the virus international community. I will now listen to Dr. Fouad Aoudeh from Roma. We will not focus with you on the political subject, but we know that it has been politicized. In your opinion, why did the U.S. held China responsible for the spread of COVID-19, and why did it hold it responsible for being misleading and non-transparent? Because on the contrary, it could have stopped the spread of this disease. What do you think about that, Dr. Fouad? Yes. Without focusing on the political point, I will mention what we have done, as well as the press statements that we made in December and in January. We were following up with the coronavirus since November. We also have doctors working in China. And when they told us about the Chinese doctor that discovered for the first time COVID-19, what we requested formally in our press statements from China and from the WHO is to inform us about this virus and how it spreads. And the question was, why did they take so long in order to discuss the spread of COVID-19? Why didn't they talk about those who died in mid-January, although they already had the numbers in November and December? I respect the WHO, but it also needs to have a more independent economic and political role and should share the information correctly. As doctors, we did not have all that, and the WHO should rise above all other parties and give guidelines. However, it made a lot of mistakes. One day it said that the situation is really dangerous. The other day and then on another day it said the situation was not dangerous. It needed to clarify things in China, notably since the statistics coming out of China were incorrect, and we needed to know about the origin of COVID-19. And we have requested the China in press statements to clarify this point, so that all accusations can be stopped and that are arbitrary, because we need to know the origin. Dr. Fouad, just briefly, I understand that you hold China responsible for being late in giving information about COVID-19, and you also hold WHO responsible because it did not play an independent role and it shouldn't be politicized. This is what I understood, Dr. Fouad. Is that correct? Yes. In addition to that, in January, we requested a formal international investigation after the death of the Chinese doctor, because we did not know why he died after he declared that he was the one who discovered coronavirus. So we have diverted a little bit about the main axis of this topic, but there is no problem about that, because this is a very important question, knowing who is also responsible. Dr. Aoudeh and Mr. Arlett, all the states that some are saying that have mismanaged this crisis, including Italy and the US, are, as I understand, the countries that are holding China and the WHO responsible. Dr. Shaheen from Paris, what do you think about that? If we look at the numbers of infected and the death toll in Italy and the US, we find that they have the highest numbers. Is there then any reason to blame other parties for a certain failure in getting over this crisis? In truth, it is not only Italy and the US that mismanaged this crisis. France did not hold China directly responsible, but the EU tried as much as possible through statements to hold China responsible, because it did not give out the information very easily and did not allow any independent task force to go and investigate into China. And this is why the EU wanted China to change that. And they said that maybe certain Chinese parties refused to do that. So the mismanagement was not only made by the US and Italy, but also from France and the UK. The numbers are really high in France, and we were really disgruntled about the tardiness of the of the French government in taking actions. They said that they needed face masks, and after that we found out that the health system was incapable of managing this crisis. In the beginning they said that the masks were not important, but now they say it's very important for everyone to wear them. So the mismanagement was not only present in the US and Italy. It was, I think, that all countries are trying as much as possible to throw the ball in the other's court. In the beginning of my intervention, I said that everything was made within this framework. Mr. Arlett, what do you think? There are a lot of countries that have high numbers and trying to hold other parties responsible. I will give you the example of South Korea. South Korea recorded the first case on the same day as the US recorded the first case of COVID-19. Yesterday, the US recorded 28,400 cases. So 24,429 cases, whereas South Korea recorded 0 cases. And both countries were released the first numbers on the first day. So how can we explain that there is no mismanagement in the US if we can compare the two states?
Well, I think first off, the United States is a much larger country. We have a lot more, much bigger population. And ultimately, we are a very free society, and I think we have to understand the different dynamics. And actually, I actually very much disagree that the United States mismanaged this pandemic. I think all expectations very early on were that hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people were going to be dying in the United States from this virus. That's just not the case. I think, as we now know, the numbers that have come in are much lower than they had originally had anticipated. So the United States actually has flattened the curve. Outside of New York City, we're not aware of any large areas, any large cities, whereas the hospitals were overran. And I think, again, and ventilators were provided for. They've been manufactured. And so I think in the United States of America, we've actually done a very good job in lowering the numbers from what was originally expected to be. So again, this is all new. There are lessons that we have now learned, I think, along the way, and we continue to learn them. And I think the President and other elected officials here in America are learning how to balance keeping our economy going at the same time of keeping people safe. And President Trump wants to reopen our economy quickly and at the same time do it in a very safe manner. And I think we all should learn from that leadership that we must do both. We can't just shut down our economies around the world for this virus. I think we have to learn how to be responsible and do both. And again, I think that all numbers have been much, much, much lower than what were originally anticipated. And I think in the end, that is a success.
However, the numbers are not less than the numbers. Mr. Trump yesterday said that the death toll will reach, for example, around 100,000 people. And so far there are 60,000 people. You are right in the main point, which is that South Korea has a lesser number of population compared to the US. But let us compare South Korea with the UK. There's not a lot of difference between the population number. In the UK, there are 100 times more cases and deaths than South Korea. I'm just giving an example about South Korea because a lot of parties consider that the South Korean model is one of the best that has been adopted in order to face this crisis. Dr. Aude from Rome, what do you think about that? Yes, just like you said, we have conducted research in 72 countries. And countries have different means of conducting their statistics. So things are different in Italy than South Korea than Germany. We also need to compare the number of youth as well as the number of senior citizens. And we need to know the number of people that are more than 65 of age. And compared to the Arab countries, Africa and Asia, the US, Italy, and most European countries have a lot of older people. So we see that there were a lot of countries that have seen large death tolls amongst the population, which is more than 65. And in the US, there's a correlation between the COVID-19 and obesity. During the last period, we saw also the problems and the correlation between dermatological problem and COVID-19. And today we released 5 new dermatological symptoms. So the virus has continued mutating, and it will be very difficult to reach and develop a vaccine. But in my opinion, all countries should work together and share their experiences in order to find a solution. Dr. Aude, I will ask you a question about the group that you are working with, because you are calling to use the plasma as well as establishing a plasma bank in which plasma will be freezed. You have treated more than 80 patients by using plasma from recovered people. Dr. Fouad, can you explain that to us? Yes, when it comes to the drugs, we have 3 different stages. When people reach the hospital, we know that they have reached stage 2, because during stage 1, we recommend everyone to stay at least 5 days at home and to have cortisone. Are you talking about remdesivir? Yes. This was the drug that was approved by the FDA as well as the European Drug Administration. We know that previously we had tried malaria and the Ebola drugs. In addition to that, we need to diagnose each patient. We need to know whether they have blood clots, and we need to know whether they are using several drugs or not. In Germany, we see a village did not register any death toll because they used the plasma. What is plasma therapy? 100% of the people that have infected by COVID-19 have antibodies, and these antibodies are the the immunity system of our bodies, and this is why the plasma of each person can be used in order to help 3 other people. This is why we need to have a blood and a plasma bank in Europe and the Arab countries. This treatment is not expensive because a lot of countries do not have all the secondary drugs, but this way we can have a passive immunity to the infected, and in that way they will be able to help all the other people. This is a very important subject. We have again diverted from our main axis, But we know that this is a very important point because we are talking about the plasma banks and therapeutics, and this is very important, and maybe we will be able to discuss it in other episodes. But now we will go back to our main subject. We are talking about the international efforts. Dr. Shaheen from Paris, how much will these endeavors be productive and efficient, or do you believe that each country will do what it has to do and find a solution that's proper to it? What do you think, Dr. Shaheen? There is no doubt that the international cooperation is very important in this framework. This is why today this virtual summit have been held. We do not know whether these countries will be able to truly work together, and whether then France, Germany, and the US will be the first to find the vaccine. But we know that international cooperation is very important. This is why previously we blamed China because it did not cooperate internationally. We know it has an undemocratic system, and we cannot expect more than it was able to give in terms of information. Therefore, international cooperation is very important, and I do believe that the vaccines will be found in one of these three countries, the US, Germany, and France, because it's in their best interest to find a vaccine, notably France and the US. The second important point is that each country tries to be a pioneer, and each is saying that we want to save humanity and the world. And everyone wants to reach a vaccine, and we know how much financial gains it will be able to provide the country. So they want to be pioneers, have much publicity about finding these drugs and vaccine. Mr. Arlett, in the remaining minutes, do you believe that life will reopen soon in the United States? Because we heard that there's a lot of states that are not even progressively going back to normal, but really fast. Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, said that we need to learn from history. The Spanish flu came in two different waves, and the second wave was much higher and much dangerous than the first wave. Do you think that they are taking a risk in reopening the economy?
I would say no, and I guess Governor Cuomo is stating Spanish flu, so I guess, does that make him racist to the point of President Trump stating Chinese virus? So I want to make a little comparison there, but no, I think we must reopen our economy in a very safe manner. Here in Delaware, our governor has become more restrictive over the citizens here in Delaware, and I know this last Friday, 19 governors throughout the country were reopening their economies in a very responsible manner. So again, I call on all governors throughout the United States to do both. We've now learned some things along the way. We now know who we must protect, the most vulnerable, and also we need to start reopening our economies so in the end we can provide for our families, which is what we do here, not only in America but really around the world. I think it's not one or the other, I think it's both. And I think that's something that I applaud President Trump on, and applaud the other governors on understanding how we must do both. Be responsible in reopening our economy, as well as providing and caring for the most vulnerable.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rob Arlett, Trump campaign advisor in the state of Delaware, who was live with us from Delaware. I would also like to thank from Rome, Dr. Fouad Daoud, the president of the Euro-Mediterranean Medical Association, and our guest from Paris.